I'll call to order the meeting of the Albemarle County Architectural Review Board. We're calling this to order for the November 16th meeting, being held pursuant to and in compliance with ordinance number 20A14, an ordinance to ensure the continuity of government during the COVID-19 disaster. Members present are myself, Frank Stoner, and Fred Missel. Let's see, before I make the next announcement, which concerns public comment in the meetings, Fred and Frank, I was interested to get your thoughts. Typically, as we were meeting virtually, we've been limiting public comment to items on the agenda. Would you have any interest in our opening general comment from the public as well as part of these meetings? I asked Carolyn before we started meeting, to her knowledge, members of the public have not expressed interest in it, so I don't know that there would be an impact on our typical meeting format, but it would at least leave that door open.
I don't have a preference. I'm fine with that.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, great. So I think, remind me, normally in our agenda, Margaret, that's item 3. Or, well, we can, I guess in next meeting's agenda, we'll just leave that as an item.
I think after disclosures, it would be a good place for it.
Okay.
And I can add it in at the next meeting if that's what y'all want.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
Will do.
Okay. Just continuing with announcements, we have a number of applicants and project representatives attending today. Carolyn Schaefer, our recording secretary, may contact you during the meeting, so please check the chat box and respond as necessary. And when it's your turn to speak, please first state your name for the record. And please, everyone participating in the meeting, mute when you're not speaking as part of it. And then I'll note for applicants who are making presentations, the presentation is limited to 15 minutes. And you can divide that among your team members however you see fit. Carolyn will let us know when the time is up. I'll turn now to ask other members if there are any disclosures today.
None for me.
No, sir.
Great, thank you. None for me. So moving on to the consent agenda, which includes ARB 2020-104 Ivy Proper Initial Site Plan. So I'll ask first, just for a show of hands, if there's anybody that would like to pull that from the consent agenda. Okay, there being no objection, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Carolyn, could you call the vote?
Mr. Stoner,
Aye.
Mr. Vanderwerf,
Aye.
Mr. Missel.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, well, we have no work session or regular review items, so we'll turn to other business. Brooke Hill.
Thank you. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Do you see a PowerPoint slide? Great.
Yes.
Let me make one other change here. Okay. So the ARB has reviewed a number of plans in the Brook Hill development. Construction in a few of the blocks is well underway, and we were thinking maybe far enough along that this would be a good time for us to look at the overall plan of development and see if it's possible at this point to identify some blocks that the ARB feels won't need to be reviewed any further or at all in the future. We did this for the Old Trail development, and we found it to be very helpful for both staff and for applicants and just knowing what to expect in the future. However, if you feel like you're not sure at this point, or if you need more information, that's fine. We can figure out what additional information is needed and come back another time, or just wait maybe until more construction is underway and we have a better idea. So I'm just going to run through these. I try. I seem to be stuck. There we go. run through a few slides to remind everyone where we are in the review of Brook Hill, and then we'll see what we think. So the ARB has reviewed the blocks in Brook Hill that are adjacent to the Route 29 frontage. This includes 4A and 4B, which are the blocks that are circled in red in this slide. These blocks are separated by Stella Lane, which you see in the top photo in this slide. That's a view standing at Route 29 looking into the development along Stella Lane with blocks 4A and 4B on either side. As you can see, these are apartment blocks and construction is well along. The ARB has also reviewed and approved the senior living building in block 8A. 8A is at the south end of the development, also adjacent to the Route 29 frontage. As you can see in the top photo, the building has much reduced visibility from 29 because of the wooded buffer. The bottom photo I've included just to show you what the building is looking like, but this is taken from Polo Grounds Road, which is not an entrance corridor. It's just provided there so you can see a little better the size and scale. The senior living building is also visible from further south on the Route 29 corridor. These are views from both sides of Route 29 around the Walmart store. Details obviously of the building aren't visible from this distance. You can see the white mass of the structure as it's currently standing. That level of visibility should diminish as the finished materials are installed. They're not bright white, they're more of a light tan, medium tan, and brown tones. ARB has also reviewed the initial site plan for blocks 9, 10, and 11 at the north end of the development. Those are the blocks that are highlighted in yellow in this slide. During that review, the ARB determined that blocks 10 and 11 would not need further ARB review. Those are the two with the red X's on them. It was anticipated at that time that the development in those blocks would not be visible from 29. At the January 6th, 2020 meeting, we asked you about block 1A. At that time, you decided that block A did not require ARB review or approval, again, because it wasn't expected to be visible from the entrance corridor street. The ARB reviewed the plan for the initial plan for the ice rink, which was originally proposed for block 3. That was reviewed in May of 2018, and then in September of 2018, it was determined that final review wouldn't be necessary because the building, again, wasn't expected to be visible from the street. Block 8B, which includes attached townhouses, was reviewed by the ARB. It was approved in September of this year. It's that block is adjacent to Polo Grounds Road, and it's behind that senior living building in block 8A as you view it from the entrance corridor street. The photo in this slide is again taken from Polo Grounds Road, just to give you an idea of better idea of what's happening at this point in time. At the top of that hill is the historic Brook Hill House on block 19. And you can see off to the left that 8A senior living facility. An initial plan for block 1B was recently submitted for review. 1B is located behind or beyond blocks 4A and 4B as it's viewed from Route 29. And the block includes the new location for the ice rink and 3 apartment buildings. And that's what you're seeing on the right-hand portion of this slide. Let's see if I can pull up my laser pointer here. It's moving a little fast. So Stella Lane, this is the entrance road in from the entrance corridor, and the crossing here is Archer Avenue. So these 2 apartment buildings in block 1B sort of mirror those buildings that are under construction in 4A and 4B. This is an important block to determine today, if possible, based on the submittal date. If this does require ARB review, we'll be preparing a staff report for the next ARB meeting. So this is a summary of the Brook Hill blocks and ARB review. The green numbers and the green Rs mean these are the blocks that the ARB has already reviewed. The red X's are blocks that the ARB has determined don't need further ARB review. Everything else in blue is what's in question. And the blocks that are circled in yellow are what staff believes will have some level of visibility from Route 29. Blocks 1B and 2, which are these two blocks right here, they would have visibility just because they are sort of continued down along that view along Stella Lane. They are, however, at a distance from the street that they would be available for a staff level review, if that's something you'd like to consider. So I can leave this slide up if that helps for discussion, and happy to try to answer any questions you have.
Great, thank you, Margaret. Frank Stoner, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, Dave.
Thank you. And Fred, any for you?
Just a quick question on number 13. Is the view likely along that northern property boundary? Is that what you're thinking from 29?
I think possibly through here.
Yeah.
Or
And all the topography, so 13, 4C, and 1B are all elevated above the height of Route 29, right? You know?
That's a good question. I think that with 4C, you're probably starting to, it may be lower. I'm really not sure. At this point, I think 1B is pretty level with the 4s.
Okay, thanks. That's all.
Thank you. And I guess, Margaret, in terms of 6 and 7, I guess they rise from Polo Grounds Road. Is there any chance that they will be visible from the northbound lanes of 29?
I don't think so. I think it's getting far enough away, and with the curves in the road there, I think it would be difficult.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think that's a reasonable assessment. Great. So just to review the blocks that have not been reviewed, I guess those are all the ones in blue.
That's right.
That's right. Okay. Great. So is there a proposal for which blocks don't require review?
We have an initial site plan in for block 1B.
Mm-hmm. I guess we could discuss now amongst ourselves. It seems reasonable to me, Margaret, your suggestion of a staff level review. Certainly there are in that proposal for those 3 apartment buildings, some facades that could be visible from 29. They are somewhat removed, but it seems, at least to me, that they should still have some level of review. I don't know, Fred and Frank, what your thoughts are.
I could point out that Ashley Davies is here. She's with River Bend Development. I don't know if you if she has.
Oh yes, certainly. Yeah. Welcome. Any further input from you?
Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm just mainly here to listen in, and I've been out on the site, and all of that area in the middle has definitely been flattened out and is kind of even with one another. But I agree with Margaret that there will be, there certainly will be some visibility of 1B. I don't know about the other ones in yellow, but I certainly think, yes, if you're looking down Stella, you're going to see some of the apartment buildings. So if you have questions, I'll try to answer them, but otherwise I'm just listening in. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, Frank, any comments or thoughts for discussion?
How many feet off the 29 right away is 1B?
I think it's just right at 750.
Yeah, I guess I could go either way on this. My gut instinct is that you're not going to see it for long enough. It's just tucked far enough back. You're going to see the elevations pretty obliquely. To me, it doesn't feel like it would require ARB review, but I'm also open-minded to staff review. I don't think it requires our review personally, but I'm willing to go along with the majority.
Fred, what do you think?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it will be kind of a snapshot. I would support staff review for 1B. You know, my sense is if number 13, if block 13, what is the block that's X'd out to the right of 9R between 9R and 13?
And
So my gut says if we didn't think we could see 10, we're probably not going to really see much of 13.
No, right.
So I mean, without seeing sections to understand elevation and view sheds, my gut says 1B's staff review, 4C, 13, and the rest would not be needed. If you wanted to just suggest 13 be looked at, you know, you could certainly look at it and say, oh, wow, this thing just jumped out at us. I had no idea it would be this visible. You know, at least you have a shot at looking at it and you can decide then whether or not you think it's necessary to review.
I think our thought was with 13 was that, let me take a step back. I think in part the reason we didn't think 10 was going to be visible was because it is lower, but I was thinking that 13 was coming back up. So
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
And in terms of 4C, Margaret, is it likely visible through the stormwater facility that makes 4BR
that's what we're thinking.
more visible?
Okay.
Mhm.
When you say staff review, is that essentially looking at the plans and just saying, oh, we don't need to review them? So you could actually see it and choose not to review it, right? That there's no need to?
Well, certainly anything that comes to us that we determine isn't visible, then don't review it.
Yeah.
But the concept here was staff level review because of the distance. So a countywide certificate,
Right.
it would fall into that category.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
The one thing that I always want to keep in mind is, you know, the building could be far enough away that the details don't make that much of a difference, but the materials could make it more obvious if you're not seeing it for a long time.
Right.
So if it's at least a staff level review, then the materials can be reviewed.
That distance threshold, Margaret, is 500 feet. Is that?
For the staff level review?
Yeah,
750.
750. So anything within 750 feet of the primary corridor would be subject to potentially staff review.
Anything beyond
Oh, anything beyond 750.
is available for staff level review.
That's totally at our discretion.
Well, any countywide application that comes in, staff will look at, and if we think there's anything questionable about it, we will usually either bring it to the board as a whole or run it by the chairperson to get direction on how to review it. Does that answer your question?
I think so, yeah.
Good. And there's a note from Ashley in the text that block 13 is going to be smaller residential use, smaller than the apartment blocks in the 4B and 1B. So, okay, so it sounds like there's some consensus that ARB review is not really required for any of these lots, and staff review seems appropriate. Certainly for 1B, maybe 4C because of the visibility through the BMP. And 13, it sounded, Fred, like you thought maybe just in case we're surprised by some visibility there, it makes sense to leave it on the list.
Yeah.
2 is probably an even briefer snapshot than 1B, I guess, to the extent it's only a glimpse in between whatever is built at 1B. What are your thoughts? Should it stay on the list?
I don't think it's worth reviewing too,
Neither do I.
Okay.
or having staff review too.
No.
I'd be inclined to limit it to 1B personally, but because I think that's, I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
I think a lot of this is too far away.
Yeah, it's hard to know without seeing a plan for 13, right? To know what the building layouts are and street configuration. I mean, if there's nothing in the northwest corner, there might be even more buffer between the corridor and what they build there.
Right.
But if it's hanging out front, it's all cleared in front of it, it's perched, might be a different story. It's just hard to know.
Yeah, and I guess it depends as well what happens north of this development.
Right.
Yeah, I think for that reason, I think, Frank, I think you make good points. I would maybe err on the side of trying to keep 1B, 4C, and 13 in the staff review column.
I think that it's probably a good idea to be more cautious because we can always, when 13, for example, comes in, we can always say, oh, we don't need to review it. I think the goal is to try to sort of identify ones that really absolutely don't need review, just to make things, more clear for what's coming down.
Okay. Sounds prudent. Well, let's see, Fred or Frank, would either of you care to make a motion?
I will pull that up as soon as let me stop sharing and then reshare. Can you see the Word document?
Yes.
Okay, so I was taking a guess at what might happen here. So let me read this and see if it's accurate. Based on the information available at this time, ARB review of Brook Hill blocks 5, 6, 7, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 is not needed. Staff level review of blocks 1B and, okay.
Let's see, 1B intended to
I
be,
think we're saying 1B, 4C, and 13 would be subject to staff review.
Yep.
Mhm.
And I would take 2 out.
1B, 4C, and 13. And,
2 would move up to the not required.
okay. And so there was nothing, no additional ones for ARB review. Is that accurate?
I think so.
Correct.
Okay.
Great, is there a motion?
Sure. I'll move that we make the following motion that based on the information available at this time, ARB review of Brook Hill blocks 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 is not needed. Staff level review of blocks 1B, 4C, and 13 is necessary.
Great, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Mr. Stoner,
Aye.
Mr. Vanderwerf,
Aye.
Mr. Missile.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Oh.
Carolyn, and thank you, Ashley.
It's probably just worth pointing out for the record that the reason that, just formally, the reason that ARB review of those blocks isn't required is because it's anticipated that the development will not be visible from the Route 29 corridor.
Thank you, Margaret. Very good point. Is it possible for us to amend the motion? Or it just goes into the record that way?
It just, it's on the record. I think that's fine.
Okay, thank you very much. Great. Well, our next item is the minutes of the last meeting of November 2nd. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Stoner,
Aye.
Mr. Vanderwerf,
Aye.
Mr. Missile.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great. Let's see. Well, our next meeting is scheduled for December 7th. Is everyone able to attend?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, great. And then following up on the discussion we had last time about studying the entrance corridors to help understand historic precedents for landscapes and buildings. I've been working with Margaret to try and develop sort of an outline and schedule and plan and draft form that I hope to be able to share with folks at the next meeting. And we're also trying to include a draft of sort of an Excel format that then members could complete with data about the buildings and landscapes they think are contributing to those areas. So stay tuned.
Great.
We'll hopefully look at that at the next meeting, and then we can publish that work plan so that the public can be aware of when they can best comment on it.
Great.
Great. Well, any further business? Great. Well, thank you very much to everybody for joining today, and good to see you all. Look forward to seeing you in December. A happy Thanksgiving to all. I hope all stay safe and well, and see you again on December 7th.
Thank
Thanks,
you all.
Dave. You too.
See you.
Take care,
We're
everybody.
adjourned.
Hey, everyone.
Bye.